Hey folks, welcome to Market Technical Analysis by InTheMoneyStocks.com, your leaders in pure technical analysis, avoiding all that Wall Street hype. Today, Tuesday, April 8th, 2008. Well, we knew we were going to go into a little bit of a downdraft here, and really it turned out to be no big deal. The charts had shown yesterday that multiple chart patterns on both indexes and charts had been overbought. And that dictated that we needed to have continued pauses and maybe even a slight little bit of a pullback. And it looks like we got part of that today. But I have to be honest, and we have to be honest at InTheMoneyStocks.com here, the markets continue to show resiliency. And there were a couple interesting things that happened today. Number one, the markets began to sell off early afternoonish, and for the most part, they recovered to just close down a little. We had the Dow closing down 36 points, the Nasdaq down 16 points, and the S&P down about 7 points. So the Nasdaq and S&P were down about 0.5%, which is what you want to see here. We continue to have the bias to another upside move, a pretty powerful upside move coming. The question is, do we continue to consolidate here and pull back, or do we take off? And yesterday we were in the camp that we needed to pull back a little, and we started to see that a little today, and we'll see if it continues tomorrow. But there are a couple things that are beginning to, it's just like kind of like trying to peer through a tiny little pinhole and see what's on the other side here. Because the charts not only are telling us, well, we were a little overbought as of the last few days and we needed to pull in, but now you have a little day like this where you pull in a little bit and it starts to form a nice bull in the spirit of bull flag. And a bull flag obviously is the setup for another move higher and a continuation move. And I'm going to show you the charts here, and we're going to get into this, guys. So let's start off with the Intraday ES chart, and you can see what we're talking about here. Let me get out my trend tools. As always, like I like to do my analysis on the charts for all of you guys. Now, what you can see here is that early in the day, we had a choppy sideways action. I mean, right here, choppy. Just up and down, left and right, every which way here in this tight range. Early, probably around 9:30 when the markets opened, we got a nice push up in the markets. But that lost steam relatively quickly, and we started to move down. Look at the double bottom. Beautiful little double bottom here, by the way. And I want to point this double bottom out in the markets. And I'm going to tell you why it's such a beautiful double bottom. Number one, for a double bottom, you take the lowest point here, which also coincided to the lowest point here. All right, if we connect these right here, it goes right over beautifully like that. And you can see. Now, on the double bottom, we always talk about how we like to see a pierce of the prior low, which means a pierce of this point here. You always want to fake out the amateurs and think you're breaking down further. And that's exactly what we got on multiple pictures here. So in multiple time frames, you got a push below. So you got the initial push here, and let me switch back to that ES chart. And you can see here we had the sell-off, and you had a little tick below. Then the next candle tried to push up, but then you had the fake out. And look at this tail here as we sold off all the way down here, but recovered to close above the low. And that's the key to holding a double bottom, is that if you don't get a close below, it's just a fake out for the amateurs to jump short, then all the amateurs get taken out right there. So that's why we preach you got to wait for the close of the candle on double bottoms to see if we do break down. Is it an actual breakdown or just a double bottom? In any case, you had a beautiful tail here with a bottoming tail, which was a beautiful buy signal. Up we went, we pulled back, and then up we went further, right into the 200 moving average here, which is right here in green, and those of you guys can see that. And that's basically where we are now. Futures after hours are trading down a couple points. That's no big deal. There's no volume involved here, and we'll see. Now, you guys all know that we talked yesterday about seeing a possible little pullback in this market after, the last few days we were just seeing consolidation, and ultimately we saw no more consolidation today, but it's finally going in the direction we want to see for the next blast off. And the key to this, folks, is that you really, when you see a consolidation pattern, yes, you want to see pauses, but you also like to see a little bit of a pullback. Get a few amateurs on the bearish side. We had just been going sideways, and people were just too bullish. So today, the beauty of it, especially on this sell-off, is we started to see sentiment switch again to the bearish side in the amateur sector. And that's where you really want to focus in on. All right. Once you see that psychology shift slightly, then you obviously look for a little bit of a push up. And in the markets as a whole, when we look at the daily, and let's switch to the daily now on the SPY, you can see that while we were making a sideways channel here, as we always mentioned in yesterday's video, you really want to see a pattern more like this before the next blast off. And that can basically take you up here. And it could be a very tremendous blast off. The question is, do we see more downside? And we called that yesterday, and it worked out to a T today that we did see downside, although they did rally the markets off the lows. I showed you guys on the intraday chart here we were all the way down here. The NASDAQ was down 20 plus points, and they were able to push the NASDAQ and the S&P back to a decent, only a small loss on the day, on the late day rally. And the beauty of this is here, guys, and this is why we still think that the markets have another leg up, even if we do happen to pull back like we've been saying for another day or so. And this is why. Because you're seeing overall extremely light volume on these days. Now, yesterday the negative was we saw all these charts topping out. Let's try and pick one here. Let's look at the Baidu chart. Let's see on the daily here, on the daily Baidu chart. Look at that move from down there. That's got to consolidate. That is way too far, too fast. You needed to pull back like it did today, and Baidu was down $4. Now, really what you want to look for, ideally, is a move down to this 200 moving average on Baidu, and then a blast off that 200. In fact, you have a necktie right below here with the 20 and the 50, and a necktie is two moving averages, the 20 and the 50 moving average, crossing here on the daily, and that's going to be solid support. So, even if we don't hold the 200 right here, you have a necktie right below. And as time passes, the 20 moving average will move up faster than the 50, possibly up to that 200. So a setup here of a pullback into this area would be the most bullish that you can take. Not only that, but when stocks start to pull back or markets start to pull back, the amateurs, which are the best psychological indicator out there, the best psychological tool that we use, or one of them at least in that area, you have to be aware that they're going to start to get bearish. When something goes down, they get bearish. When something goes up, they get bullish. I'm the opposite. When something pulls back or moves down, I start to say, ooh, this is getting interesting. This is getting inexpensive. Let's watch for a chart setup. Let's watch it for a pattern, price, and time, and possibly look for a long play. As opposed to the amateur who, as this pulls back here into a moving average, they start to get a little skittish. Wait, maybe this is going to drop much more. Maybe I should go short. And ultimately, they get flipped out of this on the next move up. So it's all about viewing the market. And I always tell you guys this stuff because all you watching these videos, you got to be informed. We're all in this together. I'm no genius. Yes, I know how to read charts. I know how to day trade and so forth. But I learned this from scratch. I wish I had someone to kind of give us the ways of the market instead of having to figure it out on my own. And that's basically what had to happen. And so back in the day when I first started, I had to take my lumps. Everyone's got to take their lumps. But my learning curve could have been shortened by talking about the psychological effect of the markets, the price pattern time, the proprietary things we've discovered that we teach in the seminars and webinars and so forth. So I do encourage everyone to come join the Swing Trade Alerts, the Intra Day E-Mini stock chat. We go over a lot of this stuff in the chat, and the options alerts are obviously out there for everyone. And the webinar, another webinar a week from Wednesday, Thursday. Sign up now on the website. Got to get your spot. It's key, trust me. You want to be a better trader, you got to take it. All right, so now let's just take a little look at some other stock charts. So we want to look at the Research in Motion daily. A nice move up on Research in Motion, and you can see it was consolidating here. It still is. We'll continue to watch that. Google. This is a beautiful chart. All right. Notice the rally off the lows. Notice here, and I hope everyone can see the 200, the 50 moving average right here. It pierced it yesterday, and that was one of the signals that said we may have a little down day today. And sure enough, we had a pullback. Google was down $9 today to 467 and change. So now let's just go over some of the daily charts. NASDAQ chart. Here's we're finally seeing the right angle of consolidation. Instead of a slight bit uptrend like this, that's a little scary. You want to see a slight bit of a downtrend for consolidation. I'd even like to see us pull back into this necktie formation beginning to form the 50 moving average and the 20. That's a good, powerful support area and could be the next angle for a blast off. So again, we're setting up here. We could see a little more downside as we mentioned yesterday's video, but you got to be impressed. The market was lower today. They fought it back. We had a lot of negative news out there today again. You had the Fed FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. where basically the Fed admitted that things were not pretty at all in the minutes. And you also had home sales at 10 o'clock this morning that were not great, and a few other things going on out there in the market. You had Washington Mutual, WAMU. Let's look at WAMU here, WM. And WAMU, pretty ugly on the gap down, and it traded down about $1.34 today to $11.81 as they basically priced, I think it was 175 million shares or something, about $7 billion in dilution in that stock. So nonetheless, there's a lot of negative news out there today, and the market was down, yes, as we had suspected, but it wasn't down that much, and that is another signal you got to watch for. In addition, let's look at the SPY quickly here. On the daily, look at this volume here on the consolidation. This volume lately has been so light. you've had about 5 days straight of consolidation. Let me get rid of that. Basically, from this blast off, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at the volume here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of lower volume candles here. Volume extremely light. And when you have extremely light consolidation or a small pullback volume, that's a dead indicator that eventually you'll come back up and blast off higher. So near term, we could see more weakness. To summarize, guys, near term you could see more consolidation or small pullbacks, but we are setting up, and it could be at any point now, whether it's tomorrow or Thursday or Friday. We favor actually a Thursday or Friday type move, or possibly next Monday for the big move, as we need to pull back possibly a little more, but it could happen at any moment. The setup is there. The setup is there. We personally think that there may be a little bit more of a pullback angled, maybe down into this 50 moving average. Here's the 50 coming here. Maybe we come down here. We are almost pushing that level there until the late day rally today on the SPY, and it may need to do that. Have a wonderful day, guys. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Watch these markets. It's amazing. Take care.